but not just with today's inductees, with anyone in the room who's already a UND Hall of Famer, please at this time stand and be recognized. We are also so very excited to have all the members of our Letterwinners Committee joining us here. These ladies and gentlemen were instrumental in selecting yet another tremendous Hall of Fame class. So would Katie Richards, Mike Backus, Brian Westland, Tarek Howard, and President Mike Mathison please stand up to be recognized at this time as well. Thank you, everyone. At this time, I am going to be joined on stage by UND Athletics Director Bill Chaves. As the awards this evening are about to begin, ladies and gentlemen, Bill Chaves.
How about a round of applause for Paul Ralston as well? Well, good evening, and welcome to one of our department's favorite events of the year. Tonight provides us a chance to connect the past with the present and honor so many deserving individuals that have had their hand in making UND and UND athletics what it is today. Congratulations to all of our recipients and their families and friends. I'd be remiss if I didn't do a couple of thank yous. First, to our teammates from both the Alumni Foundation and Midcoast Sports, along with the Alerus Center, for putting this amazing event together. Thank you. Special thank you to all of our sponsors for tonight's event, as well as our gratitude to the Pride of the North and our Spirit Squads for getting us going tonight. Very well done. Finally, to our Letterwinners Board, led by President Mike Mathison, everyone should know how thoughtful and caring this group is in making sure they uphold the standards of this special group. So thank you. Now, just a couple of updates from me. Every day, it seems that something in Division I athletics changes on a daily basis. Please know we're keeping our eyes and ears open to make sure that UND athletics is positioned where it needs to be for the long term. The one thing that has stayed consistent, though, has been the performance of our student athletes in both the classroom and community. Currently, our 350 student athletes have a CUME GPA of 3.5 across all sports. And for the second consecutive year, have led all of Division I in community service hours. Pretty impressive. As I'm sure many of you are back on campus for the first time in a bit, please look around. The campus is beautiful and continues to literally evolve right before our eyes. Some of this evolution includes amazing facility projects for our current teams. As soon as next year, many of our student athletes, coaches, and staff will be in new state-of-the-art facilities to provide them the resources needed to be successful for the years to come. These projects do not occur without our great donors, our great supporters, and great leadership. With that, it's my honor to be able to introduce our amazing leader who continues to challenge, inspire, and support all of campus on a daily basis. Ladies and gentlemen, University of North Dakota President Andy Armacost.
Thanks so much for being here, everyone. And tonight we celebrate two important things. The first is, of course, our Hall of Fame honorees, and the second is the birthday of my wife, Kathy. There we go. Big round of applause. I'm delighted to stand before you and just offer my congratulations to all of tonight's awardees. The example that they've set, the rich legacy of excellence that sets a foundation for all of our current student athletes is truly remarkable. They are why we are proud members of the UND community. Watching them perform on the fields, on the ice, on the mats, everywhere, gave us inspiration, and that inspiration lives through until today. And it lives through into the future as well. I can honestly say that I believe there's no better preparation for our students than to be athletes, to be participating in sports and gaining the leadership and the teamwork and the sense of character that our coaches and our fellow players actually imbue within each of our teams. So my hat's off to everyone who make athletics at UND so amazing and so worthy of the applause that we give them each and every day that they perform. Congratulations again to all of the award winners tonight. We're proud of you, and let's have a fun night tonight. How about something more than a golf clap this time? All right, let's go.
All right, we're going to dive right into it, as this is a great start to our evening. Our first award this evening is the Hall of Fame Team Award, chosen for outstanding team contributions while representing the University of North Dakota. We would like to honor the 2003 National Championship runner-up football team led by head coach Dale Lennon.
The 2003 team came into the season not really knowing who we'd be. We came off a disappointing 2002 year, so there was a lot of question marks. And the turning point was the St. Cloud State game, where at halftime we went in way behind, but we came out, and that started the kind of the nature of our 2003 season, where exciting finishes and last-second field goal to win that game, and then that just set us on a run where, we were unstoppable after that. Anytime you play NDSU, it's an emotional game. And this one had it all, especially people did realize that might be the last NDSU-UND game played ever. So the stakes were high, and the Alerus was packed, and you had all the makings of a great game, and it went into overtime. We got the ball first, scored, and then NDSU had it, and they had to go for it on 4th and inches, and defensively we just made an incredible stop, and the celebration was on.
He didn't get it, and the Sioux have won it!
Well, this team was an end of an era. Division II football as we really understood it, and with the old NCC, we went out on top. We were the dominant team, and that was the mark we wanted to set. I look at this team and what they've accomplished after football, and I'm as proud as I can be of them. They're carrying on the tradition of Fighting Sioux football, and they've kept their ties with each other. They kept their ties with the university, and that's what I'm most proud of. So it's my pleasure to introduce to you the 2003 Fighting Sioux football team into the UND Athletic Hall of Fame.
And with that, we'd like to please welcome, responding for the team, Captains Adam Stratton and John Bowenkamp.
Stratton was giving me grief for making some notes, so we'll see how he does up here. It's great to be here. We are honored and blessed to be going into the Hall of Fame here at University of North Dakota, and fitting that the General, Coach Dale Lennon, is going in with us. So amazing to be here, and super excited to see some old teammates as well. 2003 was filled with some of the wildest wins in school history, and somehow, like you just saw on that video, they just kept happening week after week after week. Our parents probably all had heart attacks, but it was an amazing season and so much fun. And it really was a special team with some fantastic coaches that after the 2002 season, which we struggled in, really refocused and recommitted and had that goal of winning it all. and we put the work in, and we did what it took to get there. You know, looking back, we had such an amazing group of young men. I would categorize as tough, gritty, blue-collar, hardworking, competitive, fun, faith-based, leaders, role players, men you'd want to go to battle with. Now, I live in Austin, Texas these days. Oh, we got someone from Austin, all right. And it's taken me a while to get used to going like this for hook 'em horns. I know. So tomorrow, or Saturday I should say, we need to start seeing a lot more of this. And that's one piece of history that, you know, this team has, and hopefully the 20-year streak ends this weekend, but beating NDSU in 2003 was an absolute highlight. And talking about that tackle from Digger Anderson, probably the best tackle in UND football history. I want to give a shout out to my offensive line, just like back in the old days. It's good to see everybody. Doc, Barry, Andy, our superstar Chris Cooper, Murph, Ryan, and Ole. Our running backs, Strouth, Schwensfire, Adam Rowland, Wisty, my buddy Beatty. Our wide receivers, Wisty, Caleb, Allers, Lewick. Our tight ends, Milky and Vandy. We had an awesome QB room. We had some future starting quarterbacks, Mr. Mankey, Mr. Belmore, and then the Red River Rifle, Joe Willie. And he's got his own table because he has that many kids. It was an absolute honor to be a captain of this team with Tom Irvin, Adam Stratton, and David Wistoff. Also an honor, the senior class of 2003 was recruited by Roger Thomas. So a round of applause for Roger Thomas. And Roger hired Dale Lennon as well, so great job. We had future head coach Chris Mussman. We had our future money man Tim Belmore, who's here. And you know, to the current team as well, we love being able to come back around the team, see what Bubba's doing with the team. And a big shout out to Bubba as well, as he recruited a lot of the players on this 2003 team. But with that, I do want to say that we are super lucky to have Coach Lennon. He's a great coach. He's a great family man. He's a great human being. He's the father figure that we had here when we were away from home. And we played for the university and we played for Coach, always wanting to make both proud. And Coach really embodies what a head football coach should be. A deep love for his team, his college, and his state. 2003 team was a reflection of him. We weren't flashy. There was a few mustaches. We were tough, we were gritty, hardworking, never quit, and always believed we could accomplish what we set forth. So I want to say congratulations to the team. We'll turn it over to Mr. Stratton here.
Thanks, John. That was excellent. First of all, I just want to say that, you know, I am honored and privileged to be able to speak on behalf of the 2003 football team. That team was special. As you saw in some of the highlights that we showed up here on the big screen, we had several games where it either came down to the wire or maybe we came out a little bit flat, right, Coach, and kind of had to storm back in the second half. But it wasn't without the coaching staff and the army it takes to be able to manage an entire football team. We had a coaching staff that was second to none. We had Coach Lennon, Coach Schweigert, Coach Mussman, Coach Belmore, Coach Dosh. I'm sorry if I'm leaving anybody else out, but I'll tell you what, that's one hell of a damn good coaching staff. Over my years at UND, I came in as a timid redshirt freshman under the guidance of Coach Schweigert as my position coach. And Coach, I'm sorry that I started those gray hairs. I know that was all on me. I think the Grand Forks Herald said it best with that team. I think they called us the heart attack kids that year. There were times in games where half the crowd had already left. I think we were down 28-3 at halftime to St. Cloud State, down 21-0 at halftime to South Dakota State on the road. Several other games that came down to the wire. But that team persevered no matter what. We never gave up. That senior class led by example. We had a lot of great underclassmen that year as well that ended up being All-Americans their junior, senior seasons. But that season will forever hold a special place in my heart because UND football really is a brotherhood. And with all my brothers, I would absolutely drop anything I'm doing at the drop of a hat for a phone call for anything that needs to be done. But we laid it on the line that year, all year long. And I couldn't be more proud to be a part of that team. I couldn't be more proud of the men that we've become. Throughout the entirety of our college career, in this room, all of our teammates, you have educators, you have lawyers, you have doctors, you have accountants, you have executives, you have coaches. Coach Lennon and his staff created leaders. He turned boys into men, and I'll forever be grateful for that. And with that being said, I have one last thing to say. Bubba, let's go take the farm back this weekend. I know the boys are ready to go, and for everybody else in here, let's pack the Alerus and let's kick their ass. Thank you.
And now, as we induct the team for the 2003 UND football team, we welcome to the stage head coach, to do so, Dale Lennon.
Coach, have at her. Good job, John. Good job, Adam. I'll talk later. I'm just going to read a statement now to introduce the 2003 team. And to do it, we kind of have a special arrangement that was part of our 2003 awards banquet at the end of the season. So this is something that is pretty special, I believe, in how we did things. And I'll just read the statement. As we recognize the 2003 team, the Pride of the North Band will be performing Triumphant Farewell. Triumphant Farewell is a piece that my wife, Chris, wrote after the 2003 football season in honor of the graduating seniors. In 2003, many of our games involved last-minute game heroics. At times, we faced overwhelming adversity, but this group of players never gave up. Triumphant Farewell reflects the emotions of saying goodbye to a team that achieved legendary status. The initial melody has a hint of sadness suggesting the end of something special, but it's followed by a magnificent proclamation of the trumpets symbolizing the accomplishment of greatness. Triumphant Farewell was introduced and performed at the 2003 end-of-the-year banquet by UND's current Pride of the North director, Robert Brooks. Tonight, you will hear Rob's new arrangement adapted specifically for the Pride of the North Band. And while they play, can I have all of the 2003 team members work their way up to the front where John and Adam are currently standing? Robert, that's amazing. Thank you so much. Now, 2003 team, as I introduce your name, please come forward and be welcomed into the UND Athletic Hall of Fame. Up first, number 3, Reed Mankey. Number 7, Jeff Glass. Number 8, Caleb Johnson. Number 12, John Bowenkamp. Number 13, Joe Wilson. Number 17, Brett Bento. Number 20, Ryan Mankey. Number 21, Michael Greenwood. Number 22, Tom Desatel. Number 23, Tony Hermes. Number 24, Willis Stottleman. Number 26, Adam Stratton. Number 27, Brandon Strouth. Number 35, Matt Nelson. Number 36, Chris Beatty. Number 38, Sam Schmitz. Number 40, Digger Anderson. Number 43, Matt Vanderpan. Number 44, Tyler Dolan. Number 45, Steve Brennan. Number 47, David Wistoff. Number 52, Andy Hendrickson. Number 53, Adam Bridgeford. Number 54, Troy Newhouse. Number 57, Brooke Meyer. Number 58, Eric Holstonson. Number 66, Mike Grushella. Number 75, Brian Dockin. Number 77, Barry Smith. Number 81, Travis Lewick. Number 81, we gotta get Drew Thomas. Number 84, Jesse Allers. Number 94, Lee Smith. And 97, Will Kuzler. And now with the administrative staff, could we have my administrative assistant, Cindy Klug? Could we have the associate head coach, defensive coordinator, Bubba Schweigert? Can we have assistant coach, Tim Belmore? Assistant coach, Tom Dosh. Can we have head athletic trainer, Steve Westerin? Can we have director of strength and conditioning, Jared Nesland? Can we have assistant strength coach, Nate Bockel? And assistant strength coach, Mike Silbernagel.
And last but not least, head coach Dale Lennon. Congratulations, Dale and the 2003 UND football team. Thank you for kicking off this year's Hall of Fame induction ceremony. What a way to get things going. At this time, the Alerus staff will begin serving. We're going to sit down and eat a great dinner, and afterwards we'll continue with the ceremony. Please enjoy. Thank you. Here we go, round two. Before we get started, if you would, please join me in thanking and giving a warm round of applause to the entire Alerus Center staff for helping us with this wonderful dinner tonight. Thank you. Our first individual award this evening is the Honorary Letterwinner Award. The award is given annually by the Letterwinners Association and Board of Directors to a person or persons who has contributed significantly to the furtherance of UND athletics. And this year's Honorary Letterwinner Award recipients are Keith and Jo Streyle.
Keith and Jo are an example of what makes the University of North Dakota special. They truly are the definition of an honorary letter winner. An honorary letter winner is a person or people who have contributed significantly to the furtherance of UND athletics. Keith and Jo have done that time and time again with their time, their talent, and their treasures. They are incredibly special people, and we are so lucky to have them.
Keith and Jo have established scholarships for men's and women's basketball, football, and hockey. They have also been season ticket holders for many, many years for a lot of our sports. They attend all our sporting events. They also are willing to help us out by hosting athletic events at their places. That's the definition of an honorary letter winner.
Keith and Jo's impact is incredible. Between the locker room project that we're seeing every single day, the scholarships, the academic awards, there's nothing that Keith and Jo haven't done to help this program, and their impact is it's felt every single day by our current players and our future players.
You know, one of the things that we look for is people that are really supportive and passionate about our program, and I think, you know, you don't have to go very far to think of Keith and Jo and their commitment to our program financially through scholarships, through owning a townhome across the street from the Ralph Engelstad Arena and being here every Friday, Saturday night, and that's loyal and that's committed, and those are the people that that strengthen our program.
Well, Keith and Jo are just so giving without expecting anything in return, and to honor them in this way is just so awesome, because we appreciate everything that they do for UND athletics and UND football. And they're impacting so many young lives, and will keep impacting those young lives for years to come.
I think sometimes these student athletes feel these donors that are giving money, you don't always get to know them as people. And I just think they're so down to earth, and they're such good people, and they're such about the right things. And I think from their heart, they just love having an impact on these student athletes. And we're just so fortunate to have them be such good supporters of UND.
Keith and Jo, we really can't say thank you enough. I think I'll spend a lifetime saying thank you, and hopefully some hugs are enough, but there really is no way to say it enough. And there's no one more deserving than this Honorary Letter Winner Award than you guys.
Keith and Jo, congratulations on being named Honorary Letter Winners here in North Dakota. We are very blessed to have you and part of our family here, and we look forward to the years ahead and creating a lot of great memories here at North Dakota Hockey.
Yeah, Keith and Jo, we want to thank you so much. I want to thank you so much. We appreciate everything that you do. You're so giving and kind, and your generosity and support means so much to us, and I can't thank you enough.
Keith and Jo, we just want to say thanks, and you know, I'm saying this, but like, there are so many student athletes that you've impacted, that you guys have both impacted at UND, and along with those student athletes, the programs and the coaches that you've helped along the way, it means so much to all of us, and you know, this is something that you're just not impacting today or just yesterday, the last few years. This is something that's a lifelong impact that you're making, so we can't even express in words how much it means.
We are incredibly lucky to have a family like Keith and Jo's that have been with us from the beginning, helping in countless projects, helping really get things done. We love you, Keith and Jo, and we are so excited to have you as our newest honorary letter winners at the University of North Dakota.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorary Letterwinner Award winners, Keith and Jo Streyle.
It's hard to follow up. Jo and I were absolutely honored to receive this award. We'd like to thank everyone involved. We'd also like to acknowledge the UND Alumni Foundation, led by Dehaan and an amazing staff. These people are great. We've become great friends with a lot of them. And they do such a wonderful job for the university, not only for athletics, but the university as a whole. We'd also like to send a special thank you to all the student athletes and the coaches. These coaches we have are amazing. For all their hard work every day, they've provided us and our family with memories that, last forever. We wish all the teams the best of luck this season. Last and most importantly, our big, amazing family that has supported and enjoyed this wonderful journey with us. We are super proud to be part of the UND family. Thank you very much.
That's a great start. Our next award this evening is the Thomas Clifford Award, honoring former President Tom Clifford of the University of North Dakota. He served from 1971 to 1992. He was a legend at UND and a great friend to UND athletics. Tom passed away in 2009, but his legacy is going to live on forever. This award is presented annually to a coach who has served in the coaching field as a leader with distinction. The two determining factors to receive this award are that the recipient must have earned an undergraduate degree from UND and that their coaching has taken place at the secondary or collegiate level. And this year's Thomas Clifford Award recipient is head track and field coach for Fargo Davies, Rory Beil.
Coach Beil is one of those people that he just has such an intense passion for track and field that you can't help but get excited about the sport whenever you're around the guy. And he's always trying to get people to improve, not only as athletes, but also as us coaches, and really help us reflect, what could we do differently? How could we improve our coaching? And so he's always just a blast to be around when you have somebody of that caliber and you see him on a day-to-day basis.
He realizes that the athletes don't care what the coach knows until they realize how much they care. And so he does his best to show each and every one of us that he cares about us. And I think that just shows through the athletes that we've had and how good they've been, how successful they've been, just because he cares so much about us. So being able to work with someone that I know cares about me but also wants to push me makes it a lot easier and so much more fun.
He encourages the kids always to stay hungry, but also to stay humble. We've been blessed to have incredible athletes come through, and Rory's done a fantastic job of developing those athletes. And when you do end your season on top, sometimes the most difficult part is to come back and say, how do we improve on that? So he does a great job of helping the kids, not look at it as just, the state championship is their ultimate goal, but how can you throw 2 inches further? How can you take a quarter second off? How can you continually keep improving, which ultimately brings everybody higher up? And then he does a great job of bringing in kids that maybe never thought they'd be running varsity track. One of his catchphrases is, do you have fast friends? Kids that aren't doing other spring activities, bring them on. You never know who's great at throwing a shot put, throwing a javelin, somebody that's never long jumped seriously. And it's a lot of fun, and it keeps it a very lively group. It helps break up the seriousness of it, and he brings his sense of humor to the track every day.
He helped me a ton. Like, I'm here because of Rory, basically. Like, he helped me a ton, reaching out to schools, helping me talk to people, just making sure people knew who I was and that they could find me, because no one's really looking in North Dakota. And so he made sure that I had all the opportunities possible, and I had all the choices in front of me, and I got to choose from all those. There was nothing that I didn't get to experience, and so he made it super easy for me. I didn't have to do too much work because he was willing to help me and just make sure that I found the right place.
The one thing that really gets me about Rory is, with all the accolades and accomplishments that he has, he's such a down-to-earth person. He's on your level. He's never there to put you down or to raise himself up or to put stuff in your face. Just one of the nicest all-around guys you can imagine, and a person I'm so blessed to have in my life right now.
I just want to thank Rory because he has been quite literally the best coach ever. He has been a friend to me, a coach for me. He has been every person I could possibly need. And so I am beyond thankful, and I don't get to say it enough. So thank you, Rory, for all that you've done for me.
Congratulations, Rory, your newest Tom Clifford Coaching Award winner. I'm so happy for you. I couldn't imagine a better and more deserving person to have this. I love you, bud.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure to present the Thomas Clifford Award recipient, Rory Beil.
Wow. Well, I'm extremely grateful to be here, to be recognized as a coach. I had unbelievable memories from my 5 years at UND, and the namesake of this award is not lost on me. I knew Dr. Clifford when I was here. He had our team over to their house on a couple of occasions to feed us, his big mitt of a hand and looking in the eyes and making you feel great about yourself. So that's not lost on me. And, as I thought about this award, I thought about my role as a coach and trying to make a difference and an influence on the people that I get a chance to work with. And I thought about the folks who ultimately led to me being here. I didn't plan to be a coach. I'm not a teacher. I moonlight as a coach in addition to my other work in the community. And I think about, I grew up, my mom was a high school track coach and high school teacher in Laverne, North Dakota. Anybody know where Laverne, North Dakota is? Ever been there? All right. And so if you remember in the early 90s, there was a standout basketball player, Beth Irie. Well, her big sisters were stars for my mom in the 70s. And growing up in a house with a mom who was a physical education teacher and a coach, she did a lot of things to create the conditions to allow us to run, jump, throw, play. And one of the things I really remember is we had 8-foot ceilings in our dining room and our living room. And when you left the dining room to go into a hallway where the bedrooms were, there was like a 2-foot overhang that was a little bit lower. And I always loved to run and jump, and I didn't realize I was leaving my fingerprints up there. But having a track coach mom, she allowed me to dip my fingers in a jelly jar and do it repeatedly to see if I could get higher and higher until I got tired. And when I got bigger, she let me jump up when my dad was at work. And scrape the texture off the ceiling as I could jump a little bit higher. And so she helped lay a foundation to start. I had great coaches and teachers. My high school coach was a National Coach of the Year. I came to UND. Coach Mike Grandel, who was my coach and now is a good friend, continued to create those conditions, took me places, created a great training environment, brought me to a national track meet. I got to walk away as an All-American. And so just tremendous memories. And tonight when I'm here, I see Roger Thomas. And I said, I introduced myself. You wouldn't have any reason to remember me. You remembered who I was. I see Dale Lennon and Rich Glass, people who I was a junkie in the stands at these other events. And so I'm grateful to be here. You know, as a coach, I do a lot to try to keep myself healthy, but hanging around 15 to 18-year-olds for 3 months each year, it's like the fountain of youth. There's so much joy to try to make a difference. And when I see the class of 2000, or the 2003 football team and the respect they still have for Coach Lennon, just aspiring to make some small difference. And it's probably one of the things that I get the greatest meaning in my life from. So thanks to UND and thank you for this award.
I'm a radio guy, so I don't always know all the intricacies of the video. But before I proceed, I just want to say tonight's videos with all our recipients and for the people that have wished them well have been really put together by Midco Sports' Marty Mueller and Val Sussex. So really great job on those videos. There's more to come. It's going to be a lot of fun the rest of the way. Congratulations to Keith, Jo, and Rory on your very deserving awards. And if you will, the rest of the way, please turn your attention to the video boards. It's time to meet our individual Hall of Fame inductees.
Steph joined the team when we were very early in the birth. I mean, the season, or the program started in 1999. I think Steph started in 2000. I think it was 2003, it was the first time that we advanced to the national tournament. And I think that same year we were several weeks in the top 25 ranked, and that was the first time in program history. And she was just a really big part of all of that. Steph was definitely a leader on the field. I mean, that is where she thrived. She could turn it on. So if we needed her, she could turn it on and she could change the momentum of the game and ultimately the outcome. When we needed a goal, we had Steph to put the ball in the back of the net. Besides obviously being the most prolific goal scorer for UND ever, Steph was just an amazing athlete. She was deceptively fast, she's aggressive, she had great technical skill. Her first touch, she just made it look easy. But not only that, you could tell she just loved the game. I mean, when she was on the field, when it was game time, that's where she thrived. She was a competitor. I think the memories on the field, they kind of fade a little bit, but you remember the feeling you had in those big moments. Off the field, she was just funny. She could make you laugh till you cried. I mean, she just was goofy. She was stubborn. She could be feisty, but that's part of what made Steph who she was, made her good. So it is my pleasure to introduce to you Stephanie Pfeiffer, your newest member of the UND Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Jen Hodney. I would like to thank the Hall of Fame Committee and the university. This is an incredible honor, one that I am extremely blessed to be sharing with my family. My life would be totally different if I didn't have the support and unconditional love from everyone sitting at those tables right there. When I received the Hall of Fame call, my first thought was I couldn't wait to tell my parents. They put me in soccer when I was 5 years old because I had so much energy that they were hoping it would tire me out a little. I don't know if it did that. But I fell in love with the game and I couldn't get enough. My parents were at every high school game and unbelievably at every college game. I always knew I could count on at least 2 supportive faces in the crowd, even for a road game. The greatest gift for a child is to have parents that show up. You went above and beyond, and I'm trying to support my own kids in your image. So thank you. I was blessed with amazing teammates, some which showed up and I didn't even know it tonight. So thank you to the loud ladies in the back. They made college some of the best times of my life. I couldn't have dreamed up a better group of women. We had so much fun on and off the field, whether it was pulling pranks, as in jackass stunts, or studying for a test. They were always there for me. I would also like to thank my coach, Matt, who believed in me from the moment I stepped on the field sophomore year. To my son, Giles, who was so excited and wanted to tell everyone about my accomplishment, and my daughter, Remington, who didn't want to tell anyone. I want you to know that watching you both play soccer is my greatest joy. And a special thank you to my daughter, Remington, who missed her section semifinal game tonight to be here supporting me. And go figure, she is the leading goal scorer of her high school team as a freshman. So if there's any college coaches out there, we are accepting scholarships. To my husband, who is so proud and supportive, even though you never saw me play, you are amazing, and thank you. After one of my games, my grandpa, who has since passed away, came up to me confused. He said, "Great job, but I have a question. Why is everyone always yelling, 'Go Sue'? Who is Sue? Which one is Sue?" I looked right at him with a smile on my face and I said, "Grandpa, the Sue is better than you." Congratulations to the other inductees. Thank you and have a good night.
Well, the first time I met Monique was at a USA hockey camp when they were 15 at Lake Placid, and so it's actually probably one of my favorite stories just because it just was very unique, their competitiveness, even at that age when most people would just leave and stop playing. They just kept going, and the confidence that they would in themselves beat me at one point, which didn't happen till much later in their careers, by the way. The program was a little over 5 years old when they came in and hadn't done well and hadn't been successful. And they immediately turned that around for us to be in the NCAAs and for us to start recruiting other elite players. That impact falls squarely on Monique's and Jocelyne's shoulders. I think my favorite on ice memory of Monique had to be her scoring the overtime goal to put us in the final face-off for the first time. That was a huge step for our program, and you know, just the excitement, what that meant for our program, and the steps we were taking. That was a pretty special memory for myself and the club overall. Well, I know those two loved the story of, you know, the team putting my car at center ice before practice. They thought that was pretty funny. When I pulled in, they grabbed my car when I went downstairs in the office to get ready. So I think that's probably their favorite memory. So it is my great pleasure to introduce to you Monique-Lamoureux-Morando, your newest member of the UND Athletics Hall of Fame.
Brian took part of my speech by telling that story. I'll give a little more detail in a minute. Brian couldn't be here tonight, so he's coaching at St. Cloud, and they had 2 big wins they needed to get this weekend, so I forgave him for not being able to make the trip. And then Peter, who's at Ohio State, didn't ask for permission to leave until last week, so he got the no-go to leave from Ohio, but they both gave us our congratulations. So it's great that we've been able to keep in contact and stay close with the coaches that we had at UND. So first, to all the other inductees, thank you. Congratulations, and thank you to everybody who's put on this event tonight. I know a lot of work goes into it, from just staffing it, putting the videos together, and everything. So thank you to everyone who's been a part of this night. A shout out to my husband. I think he's in the back with our 10-week-old Ralphie. So he's back there somewhere. So thank you for taking him. When we were told we had 3 to 5 minutes to speak, I knew I would have to keep it tight. So we have 4 older brothers. So I'm not going to go through each one of you because that'll take up too much time. Mom and Dad, that's your fault for having too many kids. But I will say everything. It's already been said. So there's nothing more I could really say up here that we haven't said before. So thank you for what you guys did to push us and make us the best that we could be, and for never taking it easy on your 2 little sisters. I will say it all began with our parents at UND. My mom would consistently walk in late to intro to physical education class, and that's what caught our dad's eye. And then 2 years later, that's when they started dating. And as being a part of the men's hockey team, my dad's here tonight, and Coach Eades, congratulations. But I'm sure when they saw that you were getting inducted, the guys got on a text chain, and they need any excuse they can to get together, they will use it. So there's a couple of them here tonight, and I know Deed Decision, you were at my parents' last night, so I think my mom had to sleep on the couch so you guys could catch up. Because you're catching up like talking, come on. So, but I look at different tables, I see the 2003 team, people that are catching up, and people ask, now that we've been retired for a couple years now from hockey, do you miss it? And I would say, I don't really miss the skating and the training and everything, even though Joss and I trained a lot, and we liked the monotony of getting a little better every day. But I'd say what you miss is you miss this, you miss getting together, you miss the locker room and the time together and the memories that you make. And so I think of our senior year, we had a little bit of a prank war going on with the men's team, and I bought 1,500 styrofoam cups. I went to Mackenzie Vanderpan's training room, and we got 30 gallons of water, and we stacked up 3 floors of stair, each cup with half full of water, so they couldn't get up to their apartment. And then later, to find Mary's car, we called it the Jungle Jeep, got taken from the parking lot and put somewhere on campus filled with fall leaves. And somehow this ended up falling onto Coach Adulski. I texted Nicole, hey, can you give me your spare set of keys? And at 7 in the morning, drove Coach Adulski's car into center ice to have the lights turned on, and he didn't crack a smile, so to this day he still won't say that it was funny, but we all know it was. And then on a little more serious note, I remember our final game in a Sioux jersey was the last minute of triple overtime against Minnesota to go to the Frozen Four, and it was, so as most of you know, Joss and I played 1 year at Minnesota before transferring. So where our college career started, it ironically ended. But when we thought about transferring, and I think about stories of throughout college, all roads tend to lead back to the Lotus House. And I remember, you'll laugh in a second, thinking of when we were talking to Greg about transferring, and we might have to redshirt a year if we didn't make the Olympic team that year, and he said, pardon my French, he said, F that, that's bullshit. He goes, you guys are going to put yourself in the best position to make that team, and if you're a betting person, you want to always be able to bet on yourself. And I remember taking that lesson into everything that we did moving forward into our careers, whether that was Peter doing extra skates with us, video sessions with Fabes, asking Kevin to do little things with our equipment that probably annoyed him, or switching things from year to year. and Brian moving me back to defense, which ended up being probably one of the things that made me so successful in my international career. In our weekly meetings with Greg at the Lotus House and working on our mental skills, and the countless trampoline time we had with Peyton, Olivia, and Lawson. So now that I have 4 kids, I'm gonna go buy a trampoline and you guys can come over and repay all the jumping to my kids. But I've been trying to also find the words to address the painfully obvious irony of accepting an award for a sport that's obviously no longer being offered here. But the people that were in the position to make those decisions are also no longer here. We're having actually a women's hockey alumni weekend this weekend, and there's about 30 of us that are going to be here, and I believe there's 16 between all of us. There's about 16 daughters, and then I have 7 nieces of my own, and I'm sure we're all going to try and get them to play hockey and get on their skates, and maybe they'll figure skate. I'm not really sure, but if they're blessed enough to have the skill to play at a higher level and excel at hockey, they're unfortunately not going to have the opportunity or the option to play here like their mothers did, and to talk about the memories that they made with their teammates. And I hope that maybe one day that will be able to change. Thank you.
To me, the characteristics that make Jocelyne a Hall of Famer is her compete level, her passion, and her ability to do work on a consistent basis. Well, I think it's hard to even talk about UND hockey without talking about Jocelyne and Monique-Lamoureux and the impact they both had on our program. I mean, they instantaneously gave us credibility. They instantaneously broke numerous records, got us into the NCAA tournament. You know, Jocelyne was a very special player, not only for us and collegiately, but internationally as well. You know, probably my favorite memory of Jocelyne is just the Bemidji series. And, you know, she had hurt her ankle. It was pretty bad, had a hard time getting the boot on. And so for her to play through that when she couldn't even walk was pretty extraordinary, and that ends up being, you know, a game that put us into the final face-off in the WCHA for the first time ever, and it was just a pretty gutsy performance, and I'd never seen anything like that personally as a player, and I still haven't seen anything close to that as a coach. It is my great pleasure to introduce to you Jocelyne Lamoureux-Davidson, your newest member of the UND Athletics Hall of Fame.
Try not to repeat some of the things Monique has already said. But first, I want to say congrats to all the other award winners and inductees. As I say we and our, and I'm meaning me and I, but it's always kind of been us together, so just how it goes with the two of us. It's probably redundant to have us back to back, but it's how it goes with us. As I've had time to reflect on our careers, it's not the goals, the wins, or the losses that you remember most, and it's obviously a lot of the moments you remember, the ones you've spent with teammates, big wins. You know, you sometimes remember the big goals, but it's really not, you know, the wins and losses that come to mind first. So as I reflect on moments, not just through my childhood, but throughout my UND career, I want to use these moments to kind of say thank you to so many people who have been a part of our journey. As a Grand Forks native, I have vivid memories of UND athletics kind of sprinkled throughout
my childhood. Some big, some small, but all left their mark. I remember watching UND women's basketball and the powerhouse teams they had in the late 90s, early 2000s. I remember watching this football team win in big comebacks. I remember going to swim practice and watching UND swimmers getting out of the pool or, swimming next to them in different lanes. The Pruden sisters worked at Ray Richards for a couple summers. Tanya Jones coached Monique and I in sports acceleration. And we were going to state soccer for high school, and she had sent us just a good luck handwritten note. We had Jeff Panzer as our UND hockey coach during summer camp one time. I played crib with Dean Blaze because Monique and I were in our own locker room, and we were kind of bored, and we were playing crib. He gave me 10 points, spotted me 10 points, and then tried to take them back at the end. And then I remember the first women's hockey team here at UND, and obviously a lot of the stories that my dad shared and watching the men's team as we grew up. And it's not the 2 national championships that my dad won that he talks about. It's the camaraderie that he mentions and the stories. And it's this impact that ultimately brought Monique and I back home after playing a year at Minnesota. Playing here at UND, I think, changed the trajectory of our national team career and our hockey career in general. I want to say thank you to a list of people, but first, Mom and Dad. When I think about what separated Monique and I the most, aside from the stat sheet and the obvious, it was how tough we were. And if there's a common denominator, when I've heard my dad's teammates talk about my dad, who was a goalie, it's that no one worked harder and no one was tougher. And if you were going to stand at the top of the crease in front of my dad, you were going to pay for it. And we heard those stories, and then if you know my mom, you know that our family, we had 6 kids, and she ran like 25 odd marathons after having 6 kids. And we used to practice at the old Ralph, and we could see our mom running like laps during the hour practice that we had. And she ran 1 marathon, thought I need to train more for 2 years, then cut an hour off of her time, the second marathon. But I share that because you showed us what training and being tough looked like. Dad always had his subtle lessons, but Mom, you showed us in your own way too. I'll share a little bit more about our brothers, but not too much more. Jacques is here today. Our other brothers couldn't make it, but the way you collectively played, your work ethic, sometimes your tempers, your leadership and willingness to work towards goals years down the road is what paved the way for Monique and I. You showed us what delayed gratification looks like, and ultimately we were able to accomplish our goals, almost every single one, and you guys are the ones who showed us, growing up and day in and day out. Brian was, like Monique said, supposed to be here, but one story I want to share is we were about to play Wisconsin. It was, I believe it was my senior year. He'd pulled up it was a stat over 20 or 30 games. And it was basically our team was more successful if I had less points. And he shared that with me, and I'm scratching my head. But ultimately it was, if I was able to be more of a shutdown center, we would win the game. And he was right, and we did win those games. But ultimately, what he was asking was, what was I willing to be the teammate that our team needed, and to be the player that our team needed to win games at the end of the season when it mattered most. And that lesson ultimately, I think, made me the player I was at the end of my career. And I think Brian's getting a video of this, so I just want to say thank you to Brian. Peter, who also couldn't be here because he also just didn't ask his head coach till last week, or maybe it was yesterday, I don't even know. And if you know Peter, it's funny that's how it is. But Peter sat us down before we played a single game here at the school bookstore, and not many coaches would ever do this, be willing to ask a player, what can I do to make you guys the best players in the world? And Peter did that day in and day out. He's not a morning person. He wasn't a morning person. He would wake up at 6, 7 a.m. to get on the ice with us before classes, even after we graduated. And
the time he gave us was something special. It's the time you give someone, I think, is the ultimate gift. Fabes, you were the good balance between Coach Brian and Peter. You brought a lightness to the rink that I think Monique and I needed to also mix in a smile every now and then. We had a tendency to take ourselves a little too seriously sometimes, and you brought a lightness that I think really made us enjoy the day in and the day out. Mac and Kevo, like Monique said, Monique and I were always kind of tinkering with stuff, and the amount of that you probably shook your head a lot at us, Kevin, but we were willing to try kind of anything to score a goal. So just thanks for always bearing with us, and Mac taking care of Monique and I, and sometimes just we'd come hang out in the training room just to hang out, and sometimes just that hangout spot's where you want to be. We have a few teammates here tonight, and when Monique and I came in, I believed we were probably an acquired taste. We were trying to change a tradition, build it like what the men's team had, make a winning culture, and our teammates, we wanted to win, and we wanted to win now. And so that really can shake up a locker room. And we had the right group in our locker room to do a lot of good things and win a lot of games at our time here at UND. And then Greg and Heather and the Lotus family. We met Greg when we were 16. If you knew Greg, he was always good for a pill of honesty pill. That's some of you laughing. Gave it to you straight, and if you were willing to listen and come back, he was also willing to open his doors any day of the week if you ever needed anything. And Greg was always there when times were going good, and he was, even when we were on the road, he'd send an encouraging text, but it was more of when the times were tough. And when you were facing adversity, Greg would never allow us to point a finger anywhere else but ourselves. And I think I used to hear the little whispers of Greg sometimes behind my ear in big games. Where do you want to be when the next big play happens? And if any of you have worked with Greg, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And it's, what are you going to do with your next big opportunity? How are you going to lift up some other teammates and make them reach their full potential? And ultimately, I think that's what changed my career at UND the most, was his ability to shift my perspective to be more impactful on the teammates around me. And I think those are the type of people, when they're willing to give you the honest truth, are the ones who really make the biggest difference. And sometimes you don't want to hear it, but Greg, you're always going to hear it. And last but not least, my husband Brent, we met here at UND. We met at Greg and Heather's, actually. And it would be convenient that I would be at Greg and Heather's, and somehow Brent would come rolling in sometimes. I think Heather would be texting Brent, hey, she's over here. But thank you, Brent, he played with two of my brothers, Brent did, and he played with Mario for 3 years, but he eventually had to sit Mario down and ask if it was okay to date his sister. So thank you. It's worked out pretty good, I think. UND has changed both of our lives, and now that we have 3 kids and one on the way, we're excited to share our stories, our moments here at UND. Our son Nelson loves hockey. He loves watching the big boys play at the Hockey Palace, the nice rink in town. Hazel Ann, our daughter, has more attitude than we know what to do with. Owen, he just goes with the flow right now, but when we share pictures and stories and these moments with our kids here at UND, we know how special this place has been to us and how important it has been to our lives. And obviously, like Monique stated, the irony of being up here is we both have daughters, and eventually, unfortunately, the time will come to explain to them that yes, mommy played here, but no, girls don't play here anymore, unfortunately. But many of you used to bring your daughters and granddaughters to our games. We met a lot of them, took time to skate with a lot of them and take pictures.
And time has a tendency to shed light on a lot of situations. This university is under new leadership with exciting things happening for the future. I drive down University every now and then when I get caught by the train, and it seems like there's a new building going up every other week. But the future, I think, is what we look towards. And if the time comes and the moment presents itself, I think everyone in this room knows where Monique and I will be if women's hockey is ever supported here at the university. I want to say thank you again to everyone who has put this event on. Thank you to everyone who's been a part of my journey, coaches, staff, teammates. I'm forever thankful and grateful for the people that it has brought into my life. Thank you.
Al is an ultimate Hall of Famer because he dominated the sport growing up in Grand Forks. He won multiple state events, won multiple Grand Forks events, and he did well even at the national level. He left for a couple of years and went to Arizona to start his college golf career, and then came back to finish up his last couple of years at UND, and was an All-American finishing up his career. The best part of Al's game was probably his mind. He was just so strong mentally. I would say he didn't have a weak part of his game. Long, short, were really good. I caddied for Al at all the local tournaments, the all-city, the state tournaments that were held in Grand Forks. And he used me to read putts, nothing else, but reading putts. He, would always ask me my opinion on what the putt did. So I looked up to Al kind of as my hero, and to be able to introduce him going into the Hall of Fame is a big honor. It is a great honor for me to introduce Al Thompson to the 2023 UND Athletic Hall of Fame. Unfortunately, Al will not be able to be with us tonight, but we have this short video with Al accepting his induction into the UND Hall of Fame.
First of all, thank you to the Hall of Fame committee and especially Brian Westland for nominating me. Brian and I go way back, over 40 years. We first met when he caddied for me in some tournaments, and my bag was bigger than he was. But he's a great guy, was a great caddy, and I appreciate his friendship. To be included in any hall or group with Jeff Skinner and Todd Schaefer is truly an honor for me. We all grew up playing golf together, and they both taught me a lot. I'll never forget playing against Jeff early on, and we'd play for 18 holes and barely say a word to each other because we wanted to beat each other so bad. But at the end, usually Jeff would say, "Al, you owe me $10. And that was about all he said. And as far as Todd, he just was a great guy to play with and had probably the best golf swing I've still ever seen. And every time I saw him play, I just wished that I could have the athletic and natural ability that he has. He's a great guy, and UND's lucky to have him as their golf coach. I'd also like to thank my coaches, Louis Bogan and Rob Stiles. Louis was a great guy, taught me so much, but especially all about patience and just waiting for the time to come and how to be a good person. He was a great guy and a great coach. As far as Rob is concerned, he also taught me a lot about golf, but he taught me more about wrestling and fishing. But probably the most important thing he taught me was how to get a warm beer cold in less than 30 seconds. It's something I've used ever since, way too often, in fact. But again, thank you very much to both Coach Bogan and to Rob Stiles. And also congratulations to the rest of this year's class, the real athletes, Cary, Dale, Jim, Stephanie, Monique, and Jocelyne. Jocelyne, I'll never forget the goal that you scored against Canada. In fact, the entire nation will never forget the goal you scored against Canada. You and your sister made America, not only North Dakota proud, but you made America proud. And it's an honor to be included in any class with the two of you. Thank you. I'd also like to thank my dad. He's 92 years old now, but is still a huge UND fan. At one time, he was UND's biggest fan and supporter. Even though he's 92, he'll still tell you about Phil Jackson and Dave Osborne and argue until the sun comes up that Dave Gunther was the greatest coach UND ever had. Last but not least, I'd like to thank my wife, Robin. She's also a UND graduate and has made UND proud in her career. She was a director at State Farm and is now the director of operations for one of the largest organ transplant companies in the United States. If you or a loved one had a transplant in the last few years, Robin probably had something to do with it. Thank you, Robin. I wish I could be there today, especially on Saturday. I'd love to be at the game. You know, I live in Mesa, and the worst thing probably about Mesa is it's full of Bison fans. And those Bison fans have had the last laugh lately. I'll admit that. But I keep telling them, one day, UND is going to beat the Bison. And it's going to be one of the best days of my life. And I truly believe that Saturday is going to be one of the best days of my life. So again, thank you very much, and go Sioux.
First thing is Jim was a very, very successful athlete for us here for us there at University of North Dakota. And I'm telling you, when we recruited him, we got a great one. Right away when he came into the room, he was a team leader. You know, Jim was a fantastic student. You know, he really led by example. When James came in, we had a good recruiting year that year. We really were moving up. And Jim was such a leader in that stuff because he was used to, you know, winning and that. And so as we went out, we could always rely on getting a major or superior decision or else actually getting a pin out of him. So he was worth a ton of points for us as we were moving forward. And then also, when he took second in the nation and he took fifth in the nation, he scored us a ton of points at the national tournament so that we could climb the ladder as far as NCAA placing and that. When James came into the University of North Dakota, you know, here's this good-looking guy who's really, really got his crap together. I mean, scores extremely high on the ACT, goes to class every day, studies every day, studies before class, studies after class, and then he comes in and puts in the extra time all the time. He wasn't the average wrestler. He was above that. But he taught all the other athletes how to do it. He kind of scheduled, you know, like when he was going to work out so other guys would be there. And he was always the guy that kind of led our other athletes on what they needed to do, especially freshmen, on what they needed to do to be successful. And he was successful. You know, James, it is my honor to be the person that gets to say that you're going to go into the Hall of Fame. You put so much into it while you're there. You were so successful. You were such a great leader. You're a fantastic person. And the University of North Dakota has to be proud to have you in their Hall of Fame. Congratulations, well deserved, you're the best.
It is an honor to be inducted into the UND Athletic Hall of Fame.
I know that I joined a group of great athletes, and I'm thankful for the wrestling scholarship I received and all the great lifelong friends I met along the way. My dad was my biggest fan, and he would try to make it to all my matches, except my 5 national tournaments, as he was too nervous to watch, despite being a Marine in World War II and Korea. Making weight seemed to be half the battle. We spent many hours in saunas around the country and usually worked out 2 or 3 times per day. On a trip to a tournament in California, we alternated riding a stationary bike on the bus all the way there. It was amazing how long we could go without food or water and still compete at that level. I want to thank my coaches and teammates for all their support and for making me a better athlete. Finally, a quote from Olympic champion Dan Gable: "Wrestling teaches self-control and pride. Some have wrestled without great skill, none have wrestled without pride." Thank you.
Well, the interesting part about when Cary was recruited, he was playing obviously for the Penticton V's in the British Columbia Hockey League, and I didn't actually go to Penticton to see Cary play. I went to Penticton to watch Kevin Maxwell play, and then Cary Eades popped out at me, and so it was a great recruiting trip for me and a great recruiting story. And intact, they all helped us win a national title. Well, he was one of the guys very important. He had no fear of speaking his mind, no fear of being demanding with teammates. And when you're working for a guy that's like that, like I was, you have to have commitment from the inside. And that commitment came from guys like Cary and people like that had very strong-willed about how the team should play, how the team should act and conduct themselves. Well, he's been around here a long time. He's very, very loyal, and he not only worked for me played for me, worked for me as an assistant coach, then came back and worked for David Haxtell. And so he's had quite a history here of years of working with the athletes and years of recruiting. So he definitely has had an impact. You couldn't be around here and around this program without being involved with everything that's happened. And I think that's kind of spells it out for Cary as to what he's been. Cary's a special guy, and he's a good friend. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to the newest member of the University of North Dakota Hall of Fame, Mr. Cary Eades.
Oh, that's a great introduction, Gino. How about a big round of applause for the godfather of North Dakota hockey, Gino Gasparini. Firstly, let me congratulate my fellow inductees, award winners, and their families that are here tonight. Special congrats to the 2003 North Dakota football team, Coach Lennon. And for a guy that lives in Fargo, go kick some butt on Saturday, will you, Coach Baba? I want to sincerely thank the Hall of Fame Committee for this prestigious honor. This is a very humbling experience, so I want to take a few moments to acknowledge those that helped me along the way. I need to start with thanking a person I consider a second father to me, Gino Gasparini. Gino taught a lot of us about the game of hockey, but more importantly, instilled the values in us to become successful in life. Hard work, preparation, consistency, sacrifice, and commitment to the team were some of the many traits he instilled in all of us. Many of his former players are in this room tonight and can attest to that. It's no wonder that many of Gino's players had long hockey careers and have been extremely successful for him in the business world and in the coaching ranks. As hard and demanding as he was as a coach, he also had a softer side that made you want to go to war with him and for him. He knew how to motivate and empower people. A lot of people ask me how I got into coaching, and unfortunately, as some of you know, I suffered a serious neck injury as a player, my second year of pro, and something that I worked my entire life for, to be a pro hockey player, was instantly over. And I remember, being in the hospital and having a long hospital stay, and no cell phones in this day. I got a call to my room, and it was Gino Gasparini on the line, and he said, "Don't worry, Bertie. If you can't play anymore, we'll create a spot for you here back at North Dakota." And that's how I got into the coaching world. And 40 years later, it was a pretty good call on his part and my part for sure. I can't express to you the peace of mind that gave me to focus on just getting better and healthy, rather than worrying about what I was going to do with the rest of my life. A side note to that was when I returned to UND the next season, I was fortunate to learn under Gino's two assistants at the time, Dean Blaze and John Marks, two Hall of Famers at North Dakota and legends in their own right, two huge mentors in my life. If Gino was like a father to me, Dean and John were like big brothers, and have been a big impact on me and my career. Another two guys that are in the room tonight that have made a tremendous impact on me and my life were our 1980 captains, Mark Taylor and Mark Chorney. They really set an example of how to conduct yourself on and off the ice, how to have a level of excellence in every aspect of your life, and I appreciate their friendship and guidance over all these years. Kind of strange in the picture that I saw that they chose a little story behind that. I was actually wearing Mark Chorney's jersey, number 16. I always wore number 22 at North Dakota, but unfortunately, just before that picture was taken, we had a little melee in Wisconsin, and there was a little bit of blood, on my number 22 jersey. So I was a captain. So Dave Kamrowski, our equipment manager, gave me that. And a little story to the trophy that I'm holding there. Some of you may remember the McNaughton Cup was, almost as nice as a Stanley Cup, huge trophy. And in 1980 and 79, we won that cup. And I was telling the freshmen and sophomores on the team, hey, if we win this league, we win this huge trophy, and it's the McNaughton Cup. And, we ended up winning it, and then they brought out that thing. It looks kind of like a bowling trophy, but I actually still have it in my house. But, what I didn't know is Michigan Tech had the rights to the McNaughton Cup, and they had taken it with them to the CCHA. So a little bit of letdown for our group, but, we ended up getting the big trophy in the end. Been very fortunate to have coached many great players and people in my career. Heck, I hate to admit it, but I'm old enough to have coached Brad Berry and Dane Jackson when they were players at North Dakota. I also worked alongside of them as assistants under Dave Haxtell, and we had many memorable times together. Best of luck this season, guys, and appreciate you coming tonight. I'd like to thank all the players I've coached over the years, as well as the many coaches I've worked with. They've had a great deal to do with me earning this recognition. No coach can be successful without talented players and committed coaches alongside of them. Lastly, I want to recognize and show appreciation to my three kids that are in the audience today. My oldest daughter, Alexandra, her husband, Moses, and my son, Eddie, and youngest daughter, Erica, who was a recent track athlete at North Dakota, and I'll brag a little bit, set the school records in the 800 and the mile. I've probably talked long enough, so I'd like to close by saying that being a player and a coach at UND and getting to be part of the great tradition has shaped me into what I am today as a coach and a person, and I'll always be grateful for that. A UND friend recently gave me a shirt on it, and it said, "We all die. The goal isn't to live forever. The goal is to create something that will." And I know there's a lot of people in this room that have dedicated their lives to UND athletics, and I want to thank them for that. I'm deeply honored at being inducted in the UND Athletics Hall of Fame, and I want to thank everybody in this room for taking time out of their precious lives to celebrate with us tonight. Thank you.
Dale has so many characteristics that almost too numerous to mention, and being a former player here, being a coach, his leadership and the quality, he's one of those guys that, you know, you'd look at him and he'd be kind of a role model. I've always admired the way he's approached things. I enjoyed working with him for 40 plus years.
You have to look back to coming to UND out of Knox, North Dakota, which is a really small town. For Dale, going to the big city was going to Rugby, where he went to high school. But there's something special about him, and there always has been. He's got the it factor. He's got strong North Dakota values, and he shows respect to everybody he's around, and that's how he gains respect. And he's a true epitome of a North Dakota person and a North Dakota athlete and a North Dakota leader.
You know, he set a standard, especially on defense. Back in the 90s when we were probably in our heyday with our coaching years, our defense was one of the best, if not the best in the league, and Dale led the charge on that. And to this day, I think they still, I would say UND plays that style of defense. Don't make any mistakes, don't give the team any advantages and so on, and I think that's been his legacy.
It's just an honor for me to even be around, be a part of Dale's whole career and his life, and it's a joy to be here tonight, and I'm really proud of you, Dale.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you to the newest member of the Hall of Fame class, a deserving individual in many, many ways, Mr. Dale Lennon.
Wow. This is overwhelming. You know, Roger and Rob, I had to have both of them introduce me, because it was just one of those things I would have rejected going into the Hall of Fame if they weren't going to allow me to have both Rob and Roger do the introductions, because they're that important to me. You know, Rob Bollinger was my first coach. He was my first recruiter. The interesting story there, I was the very first recruit that he ever visited with, and he was the very first recruiter that I ever talked to. So, you know, the irony of that, and then for us to be able to coach together all those years, you know, we have a bond that is about as strong as it can be. And then Roger, you know, he's my mentor. He hired me 3 times, and I'm still not quite sure why, you know. You know, because as Rob said, I mean, I'm North Dakota, I'm small town, and but there was something there that Roger and I connected, and the uniqueness there. I went on to coach Roger's son, Drew, and the irony of that, Drew went on to coach my son, Trevor. So, you know, there's a connection there that's extremely special, and I'm so thankful that I was able to be a part of that. And then I also want to congratulate the other inductees. What an incredible class. You know, there's 7 inductees that are going in. Now, 6 of them are athletes. You know, I'm a coach, you know, and if you look at the program that you have, they make sure that they put in 99 to 07, my time at UND. The reality is I was here in 79 to, you know, 2008. I was here a long time, but they wanted to make sure they could just put an asterisk up there saying that not good enough as an athlete to make it into the Hall of Fame, but we'll let them in as a head coach. So, you know, that's I think Bill was behind that one, but you know, it's a great class to be a part of, and I do want to do the thank yous. You know, Mom, Dad, they're not here, but they would have loved this. They would have just loved this, and my siblings are here tonight, Carla, Linda, Donnie, and then their spouses. You know, it's so special that you're here tonight. I'm going to be talking about my family here in a little bit, so I'll get back to them. You know, it's just, and everybody, family is so important. It's just so important in anybody's development, and you know, that's what UND's built upon, family, a family feel that's true and genuine, and to be able to have the 2003 team going in tonight, I just can't tell you how overwhelming that is on my part. So You know, my story here is I came to UND in 1979, and I played 5 years for UND, and when I was done, you know, I had the greatest time. You know, that would have been enough. I mean, I would have had a lifetime of great memories of UND, and I was a team captain, and I became the rugged rugby runner. I mean, all those things that you know were special just to me as an individual. But as fate would have it, I ended up going into coaching, and several years later, I was hired as an assistant coach. And I remember that day when Roger called me on the phone and offered me the position. I mean, I was on cloud nine. That was the greatest thing ever. I remember hanging up the phone and doing a little dance that I'm sure is very embarrassing right now if anyone would have ever seen that. But and then as an assistant coach to be a part of that program that put UND back in the dominant position in the NCC and the dominant position over NDSU, and finding a way to get the upper hand, and coming up even with the quote, you know, do you want to go into farming or do you want to own the farm? You know, those were things that were extremely special memories for me. And then the ability to come back then as a head coach. And the one thing during our coaching career, my coaching career, it was always about the family, and Chris and I, my wife Chris, we viewed coaching as a family business. This is what we did as a family, and our players here from 2003, they know what I'm talking about because my kids were there every day. Jared, my oldest son, he was filming practice when he was in 5th or 6th grade. He was up in the lift filming down. I'd probably get arrested now for, you know, I hate to think about what I was asking him, but he loved it, you know. And then naturally, Trevor, you know, Trevor saw what Jared was doing, and then Jared, you know, so Trevor came in and he's running the clock for us, and the players would always get the biggest kick where I'd have to stop practice and yell up at Trevor because he was screwed up on the number of the periods that we were at the time. So, you know, and then Cody comes along, and Cody, he might have been a 3rd grader at the time, but here he is driving the gator around, putting equipment out, working with Dallas Cop. Cody learned about life by looking at Jared Enger's tattoos that he had. You know, so the team, you know, the players, you guys raised my kids. You know, and the thing that's a beauty, I mean, they turned out well. You know, I have great kids, you know. And Chris, I can't say enough about Chris. Coach's wife. Coaching is tough. Coaching is a brutal profession, and it is something that you have to be completely committed to it if you're going to do it and do it well. And Chris was, and it wasn't easy on her, and I can't thank her enough for the time and effort that she put into everything that we did. And trust me, this is an us type of award that the Lennon family is receiving. So, and then, you know, as a coach, you always look back on your career and you really wonder, have you made a difference? You know, everything that you believed in, everything that you preached, everything that you talked about, did it connect? This morning I got a message from one of our players that should have been here tonight, but he's in Israel, and he's committed. He's into the Israeli community, very tight with that community, and so he sent me a text because I had reached out to him to see if he was okay, and this is what he had responded to me. He said, "Hey, Coach, good to hear from you. Was planning to be with you all today in Grand Forks, but definitely there in spirits. Give my love to all the guys. One thing I always remember as being a difference between NDSU and UND is that for you, winning was not the most important thing. It was always about integrity and doing what's right. Funny, because when I heard the sirens and then learned of the attacks, I thought to myself as I went to help and make sure people were safe, okay, which our players know what that means. It was just a battle cry that I was taught as a player, that I had told every team that I have coached since then, that Hokahe is a Sioux warrior cry, battle cry going into battle. It's a good day to die. And it's something, too, to hear ZBJ come back and tell me when a time that was very chaotic for him, he found peace because he knew he was doing what was right, and that he was going to make sure that he was available to the people that needed him. To me, that makes me feel good. It makes me feel like coaching, I accomplished something. And the wins and losses are important, they are, but it's just so much more than that. I can't be more proud of the teams that I have coached through the years. I can't be more proud of the University of North Dakota. What's happening here is so impressive. The vision is there. We're going in the right direction. And then Saturday, my God, I am so excited for Saturday, because we are going to own the damn farm. Go Sioux!
Wow, how do we close things out from here? A couple of quick little items to remind you of. We do have an Unreal Fan Luncheon set up tomorrow at Memorial Union. Certainly know about that. It's going to be a great time to prep us for a weekend ahead. UND Soccer's in town tomorrow afternoon as well, so be aware. UND Hockey, of course, dropping the puck on the regular season against Army tomorrow night. Wisconsin on Saturday, and I've just been alerted that Wisconsin will not be allowed any water bottles on their bench area. We just don't want them to have that temptation, do we? All right, and also, of course, Saturday here at the Alerus Center, just, we have a great public address announcer that winds us up for third down or it's fourth down, but if you're sitting next to people, remind them to get loud on first and second down as well. Let's make it as miserable as heck when that team from down south has the football. So just a reminder, be as loud as possible on first and second down as well. Now, as we move on, we'd like to, number one, on behalf of UND Athletics, congratulations to all of tonight's inductees. Fantastic the whole way around. A special thank you to everyone involved for partnering with us. Once again, Bank Forward, Rydell Cars, Canad Inns, Shields for graciously sponsoring tonight's event, and along with the Alerus Center staff for making it what it was here tonight. And a reminder to all inductees that your football tickets are in that packet that you received at check-in, and we will be recognizing all of the inductees during Saturday's football game. Please refer to the instructions with your tickets for timing of each team and individuals for the on-field recognition. I tell you what, this has been a great night. Let's carry us through the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Let's have a great weekend and enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.